we decided to do this video because we wanted to share our reasoning behind why we're leaving New York, as there may be some people out there who are struggling with some of the same things that we were struggling with. And so here we go, first one.
So for us, it's the weather. We deal with a lot of cold up here, a lot of snow, more towards January, February, which honestly by this year we'll be out of here by then. So it's kind of nice to have like maybe we'll have a little bit of a mild winter just because we're moving. But that's a big thing, having to wake up in the morning to snow blow the driveway and brush the cars off and do all that. And we've always said that we don't like the snow. We put up with the winters here. We don't enjoy a lot of winter sports.
Our kids, I think, are gonna miss the snow though. Our house that we have has like a little sledding hill and stuff. So New York State, Texas, Monroe County, Texas are the highest or one of the highest in the state. So what we pay for our mortgage, half of that goes to Texas. Really discouraging. And the house that we bought in South Carolina is what, $500 less? It's a little bit smaller. For years we've been talking about downsizing just because we have been wanting to be more fiscally responsible, and with me working part-time and wanting to even work less when we decided to homeschool the kids, it just makes sense for us to even moving down there where it's cheaper to actually downsize a little bit.
The next point that we wanted to kind of bring up again is I had mentioned of where we live in New York State. When you say you're from New York, people tend to think you're from New York City. I grew up on Long Island, so for me, I called it the city, being so close to me. But then when I moved up here and started going to college, everyone, people would be like, "Oh, we're going to the city," and I'm like, "You're driving 8 hours to go down to New York?" And even I still call it New York, even though there's so much more to the state. New York tourism tries to really push that. There's a lot of trails, there's hiking, there's camping, there's all of these things to do outside of New York City. Constituency of New York is mostly, I think I looked up the population, half of the population lives in New York City.
I mean, I grew up in a small town, in a neighborhood, but in a small town, so I just find that what normal New York represents doesn't actually represent a huge percent of the population actually that resides in New York State. If you don't consider that very small area of New York. And that segues right into politics, which is not a popular subject, and we honestly will share a little bit of what we think about certain things, but that's not our main purpose on here. But I'm sure a lot of people who feel the way that we do, who are conservatives living in a very liberal state, controlled by New York City, it's very frustrating, and over the last few years we've seen disconcerting things happen. Late-term abortions, that's a big deal when you light up the Freedom Tower celebrating that. And then when we decided to homeschool, and we started realizing, wow, we really love homeschooling. Like, we didn't actually set out to homeschool, and we really decided it was for our family, but then we started realizing that there were certain things happening in the political realms of New York that were going to potentially make that really hard to do, or to really start to regulate it. And it's actually one of the higher regulated homeschool states. So there's a lot we go through to homeschool here. But we lean conservative because of our Christian faith. It doesn't mean we agree and think everything conservatives do follows what we believe as Bible-believing Christians that it should. Our personal belief is that it seems that's the lean that makes us more comfortable to be. No place is perfect. We're definitely not thinking we're going to go to South Carolina and it's going to be perfect. And we just want to do our best to follow after God and what He calls us to do and what the Bible tells us to do. And I think that, when it comes to, at least a big reason why I really was on board with us leaving and we finally took the plunge, or like the big leap of faith, was freedoms. New York State just keeps taking one after another away, and talking about taking more and more away. And I want us to be able to decide how we raise our kids and what we allow, like from a medical freedom standpoint. Working in the medical field myself, I mean, this is crazy. People should be able to decide what is put in their bodies and what is not, what is put into their children's bodies and what is not. And to make any claim that any kind of medication is 100% safe, that's just not true. It's not true. Everything has a risk and everything has a benefit, and people should be allowed to decide what it is that they do. And I don't ever want to be in a position where there's something being forced upon myself or my children that I don't agree with, but we've created this slope of deciding that, well, this is okay, well then now this is okay because of this reason, and then now this is okay, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you have no rights at all over what it is that is being done to your children, how your children are educated, all of those things. We really want to be able to be somewhere, at least in the hopes to be somewhere who has values a little bit more like we do. Don't take for granted the freedoms that we have in the United States. And I feel like sometimes we can do that in life. We just forget how lucky we are to have all the freedoms that we have.
We become very complacent
Yeah.
in all aspects of our life. The decision to do this was based on a lot of different things, and we talked about a couple of them right now.
Yeah.
And we probably sound super crazy. We believe what we believe. A lot of it is biblically inspired.
We try to make it all biblically inspired, and the things that aren't, I try really to pray on and say, why do I believe what I believe, and do I need to be changed on this? And I find it interesting how God continues to show me, if there's biblical reasons why you should be concerned about these certain things that are happening around you. I think that family is going to be a hard one to leave. It's going to be definitely hard for our kids. We live right down the street from my sister and her 2 girls, and our kids are really close to them, and my brother lives 20 minutes away. I mean, my whole side of our family is here. We know that some people aren't going to agree with the things that we say and why we would pick up our whole family and leave. I think we want to plant new roots somewhere with the hope that then they can grow up and plant roots in that same area, and we can start a new generation, thinking generationally about our family and our kids and their kids and their kids. But I think that's okay. And there are some people who are going to watch us and say, I've been thinking the same things, and I don't know what God has for us and what he's going to do. And God just opened the doors for us. And if he hadn't, we would still be here, because we don't believe that God has us here for our life to be simple and easy and perfect. It's meant to be uncomfortable. That's where we grow. We're meant to be speaking truth and showing love and doing all of those things. And if God wanted us here, we would stay. But he opened doors. It's crazy how it all came together so incredibly fast, and how it just continues to come together. So we feel confident that God's in it.
We're just hoping to really reach out to people, inspire them, take them along our crazy journey of why, and then doing it, and then what it's going to be like to adjust in a new place, really with no one, with just us and our family of 5. So that's really the motive behind this.
Please be praying for us. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.